Sure.
So remember, we start with just a general opening. Who's going to do that for us? Okay. And then each person will have their mini speech, and we'll just sort of this one we're going to talk through what happens. Okay. So we'll just sort of pause and then introduce the next step. Everybody ready?
I'm sorry, I got confused.
Okay.
So you just want me to do the introduction and then stop?
No.
Go straight
you do
in?
the introduction and do the mini speeches.
Okay.
And then you'll just hear my voice say, so at this point, now we'd like to see the three of you talk.
Okay. I'm glad we
And I'm only
discussed
saying that to just kind of, as a dry run for the whole audience, to remind them of how these are going to work today. Okay? All right.
All right. Hello. The topic today we would like to discuss is whether recreational marijuana should be made legal. My name is Brittany, and I'm going to give you some background information on marijuana. And then after that, Brody is going to tell you some pros, and then Dakota will go on to tell you the cons. So we're going to go back to the three main background points on marijuana. They include what it is, some of its slang terms, how it is used, what it is used for, and where it is legal in some of the places that will most likely pass it within the next year. So the first point I'd like to discuss is what it is. Marijuana is dried flowers, leaves, stems, and seeds from a hemp plant. There are two different kinds of marijuana plants. You have a sativa, which is usually tall and light green in color. It usually gives people a energetic high, and it usually comes from places such as Colombia, Mexico, Thailand, and Southeast Asia. The other plant is indica. It usually is short and dark green in color and gives people a calming high, and originally comes from places such as Afghanistan, Morocco, and Tibet. Some of the slang terms that people refer to it as would be weed, ganja, joint, Mary Jane, and reefer. The next point I'd like to discuss with you is how it is used and what it is used for. Marijuana can be smoked in cigarettes, pipes, blunts, and also mixed in food. It is used for two different things, recreational marijuana and medical marijuana. Medically, it is used to treat pain and nausea caused by many different illnesses such as HIV, AIDS, and cancer. The last thing I'd like to discuss with you today is where recreational marijuana is legal and places that will most likely pass it within this next year. On January 2nd, 2014, the Christian Science Monitor reported that Colorado became the first to open legal recreational pot shops. Colorado and Washington are the only two states that have recreational marijuana legal. And then according to statistics in Time magazine, Oregon rejected pot legalization with a vote of 56% to 44% in 2012. And you can see that that's a close range in numbers. And on the list for next year to legalize recreational marijuana is Oregon, which you saw was close in 2012 to legalize it. Also, Rhode Island, Alaska, and California are also on that list. And then the Riverfront Times reported that Missouri will not have anything on the ballot for this year, but is looking to legalize recreational marijuana in 2016. So today we talked about the three main background points on marijuana. They included what it is, some of its slang terms, how it is used and what it is used for, and where it is legal and places to most likely legalize it next.
All right, thank you, Brittany. So my name is Brody. I'm telling you about the pros of recreational marijuana. So the three pros that I have, I'm going to be talking about is going to be the economy, the health aspects involved, and also industrial hemp. All right, so the first pro that we're going to be talking about is the economy. All the facts that I got from the economy are going to be from drugrehab.us. It's really big. It's actually sponsored by various health organizations. So the first fact that I have is, so Colorado tax, since actually legalizing recreational marijuana, has increased and is expected to be right around anywhere from $5 to $22 million like in gross annually in profit. And according to the Huffington Post, a guy by the name of Ranjit Diglow, he is a professor and economic chair. He said that decriminalizing marijuana would actually allow about $8.7 billion in government spending to be spent elsewhere on more violent crimes. And also, as you decriminalizing it, 19 to 32 million people would actually get released from jail, allowing people, like us, taxpayers, to spend our money elsewhere and letting people out of jail. Another big point, too, is that open markets are actually safer than black markets. So by legalizing marijuana, there wouldn't be as much, crime involved in like black markets and, all the sales involved with that. And also, too, in general, nationwide debt would go down because of all the increase in revenue. And also, dispensary money that's generated would also increase debt, or I guess lower the debt. And that's about it for economy. And now the next topic is health benefits. So compared to alcohol and tobacco, according to CNN, marijuana is the least addictive drug you can do, compared to alcohol, which is the most, and tobacco, which is right under alcohol. So it says less addictive than both alcohol and nicotine, which is really good. However, though, it's legal, and it is a Schedule I substance, which is comparable to heroin and LSD. And if you guys know anything about marijuana, it's nothing like heroin or LSD as far as the effects and the addiction rate. And also, too, the annual death toll provided by the CDC.gov, alcohol is 2.5 million annually, and just by alcohol poisoning alone, it's actually 88,000. Tobacco and cigarettes is actually 5 million a year. And marijuana is actually 0. You can't overdose from marijuana. You'd actually need 1,500 pounds in 15 minutes to actually die from marijuana, which is literally impossible. So it's very, very difficult to overdose on marijuana, of course. And my last point I want to talk about is industrial hemp. So industrial hemp, honestly, is just the cannabis plant and the stems and the roots of the cannabis plant. Marijuana is the actual leaves and the flowers that you smoke. So industrial hemp, what it's used for, you can use it for food, you can use it for fiber, building materials, concrete. I mean, it literally can be used for anything. And it's obviously the most healthiest form of protein you can actually have and consume in your body. So it's a very healthy and, good product to actually have. However, it's also illegal in most states, so you can't actually use it. So the 3 points we covered today were the economy, the health aspects, and the industrial hemp. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brody. As Brody said, my name is Dakota, and I will be talking to you about the cons of the legalization of marijuana. The three cons I will be talking to you about are: is marijuana addictive? How does marijuana affect the body? And is marijuana the gateway drug? The first con I will talk to you about is if marijuana is addictive or not. To start off, DrugRehab.us states that studies have shown that about 9% of the users become addicted to marijuana. This number increases for those who started at an early age to 17%, or 1 out of every 6 people. Long-term users of marijuana have reported withdrawal symptoms such as irritability, sleeplessness, decrease in appetite, or anxiety. It affects your life because it lowers life satisfaction and poor mental and physical health. The next con I'll be talking to you about is how marijuana affects the body. The National Institute of Drug Abuse states that the use of marijuana could lead to different drug use. It also states that marijuana use can lead to increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, increased breathing, rapid heart rate, dry mouth, dry and irritated eyes. Long-term marijuana smoking carries some long-term consequences, such as you're at a high risk of having a heart attack, having heart disease, or having serious heart problems. Also, a very high risk for having a lung cancer. The third and final con I will be talking to you about is what the gateway drug status of marijuana is. USnews.com says the studies have shown that some users have a genetic predisposition to drug abuse and are more likely to become heavy cannabis users. Studies also show that the gateway drug theory cannabis users often socialize with other cannabis users. So therefore, they are more likely to stray away from marijuana and other drugs such as cocaine, heroin, LSD, and multiple other drug sources. So the cons that I have talked to you about are: is if marijuana is addictive, how does marijuana affect the body, and what the gateway drug status of marijuana is.
Let's give them all a round of applause for those. So now we'd like you to just kind of, if Brody, you would push your chair back a little bit, and you turn in just a little to kind of open up a conversational grouping, and now you get to discuss amongst yourselves. And timekeeper, if you would just kind of show them maybe 4 minutes. So hold up the 3 when they have 3 left. 2. So a total of 4 minutes for this.
Just 4 minutes?
For this portion. Okay.
Am I supposed to be writing down these time?
No. I'm also timing, but just back up.
I thought it was 5 minutes.
On your sheet it says 5.
We can do 5. Okay. They probably want 5.
It'll
Okay.
just be more like closer to 5 if we do all morning.
Probably the rest of you will have to shorten that to 4 just because of the time frame for today. Go. All right.
Alright guys, so after hearing the different sides of this case, do you guys think that states should legalize medical marijuana before they legalize recreational marijuana?
I think so. I think legalizing medical marijuana first would show people that it's not as dangerous as everyone thinks that it is. I think that it would show that it is actually very useful in more than one case, and more than just being a fun thing to do with your friends. It can be very helpful as far as medical purposes, and also very useful as well, like I said. And I really think that, like I said, legalizing it first, as far as medically, is going to show the public that it's not as dangerous as heroin or LSD. So.
Definitely, I agree with what Brody said. I think legalizing medical marijuana first would definitely help people look at how recreational marijuana would be used. I think along the medical standpoint, I think legalizing medical because different health problems such as like seizures, people who have like epilepsy, like it would definitely help them out in that range.
Okay, so if you guys think that it actually is legalized, what places would be considered smoke friendly?
Well, I think that places that would be considered smoke-friendly, I think it would kind of have to stay out of restaurants and bars and public places like that, especially because of how we are with the tobacco smoke-free areas. I think that they would consider the marijuana smoke the same of annoyance as it would be with tobacco smoke.
I think if they were to legalize it, and if they were to say you can smoke in a public place, I think only bars would be able to, and such as like hookah bars that are legal, I think they would definitely create maybe a marijuana lounge or a weed lounge that you can smoke legally under the supervision of somebody.
Yeah, and I think that if we would keep it out of the public place, it would pretty much have to be in your own home and away from that.
Definitely. If they were to legalize it, where do you think it would be sold, and how do you think it would help the economy?
Well, I really think that dispensaries are a good idea. Not only are they generating money for the government itself, but it's also very safe. You know what's going into it. You know what's coming out of it. It's all very manageable and proper. And also, too, right now, dispensary money actually isn't considered real money. So once we actually legalize marijuana and the money becomes legal money to usually put it in banks, I feel like that would give a really, really big tax increase and also revenue increase in the world, which is really nice. So.
Yeah, on the economy standpoint, I definitely think that legalizing recreational marijuana will help because of the large tax you can put on it. And then as of where we would be able to sell it, I think that we'd have to put large restrictions on where it actually would be possible to sell because you don't want to put like the dispensaries right next to a school or like government buildings. You would want to make sure that you had it in the right location. And then what restrictions do you guys think have to be placed on recreational marijuana if we legalize it?
I think age limit is probably a really big thing. I believe in Colorado right now, it's at 21 to actually buy marijuana, which is, I think, is a good age because it shows people that, yes, it's okay to smoke, it's okay to do, but you still have to be an adult to do it. So kind of like the limits with alcohol and also tobacco, there's still these age limits on each of them. I feel like, setting some standards and some restrictions will actually give the public a better look at how marijuana is used. So I feel like age limit's a big portion for sure.
Definitely, I agree with you, Brody. I think 21 is definitely a good age to set as the age limit to allow legalization to smoke at. But along with driving, I think there should be a law passed that you should, like driving under the influence of alcohol, driving under the influence of weed. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And there is a law in Colorado about driving under the influence there.
All right, so to kind of wrap things up, guys, how do you feel legalizing recreational marijuana would affect the crime rate?
I think that the crime rate could go up because you have the people who are selling in the black market, and then those people may end up finding a different way to get their money, or you could end up being like stealing or anything like that. But then it could also, I think, go down in some standpoints too because you are taking away that point.
Definitely. Marijuana is a business to some people, so people who sell marijuana on the streets technically almost get mugged almost every day. So I think taking that apart or taking that away from the streets would definitely help the crime rate go down. I think so. Getting it off the streets is definitely a good way to decrease the crime rate.
I agree with you both. And as I said earlier, too, said just legalizing marijuana in general would get a lot of that crime off the street because a lot of those money going towards cops funding, towards getting weed off the street is a big $8.7 billion industry. All that money to go elsewhere into more violent crimes. So we're about at time, guys, so we're going to open the panel up for questioning now. So if you guys have any questions or anything?
Okay, so at this point, I need somebody who'd be willing to do the calling on people, okay?
Yeah.
Now, it can be one of you if you want to do that. but we also kind of would like to have you engaged with us. So I can't do that because I'll be writing. So I need somebody to look around the room and just stand up and play over it. Just say, yeah, it's Colin. Who have their hands up? Nobody's willing? It's so easy. Okay.
All right. Let's do it.
No, you just have to make sure that you can see and that you're not like,
Probably going to ask questions.
anybody have a question?
Knowledge at once.
All right.
No, you can make questions or comments to them, not like, you're not necessarily challenging
No,
them. You
please.
can make an additional
Oh, good.
point. You can say, I like the
So
point you made
awkward.
about, could you speak more about, or anything like that. Hi, thanks.
In regards to the law about you said about driving under the influence of marijuana, do you guys have any more information? Kind of like, what are the guidelines to it, or is it kind of like a how do you say it, like a checkpoint thing where they kind of make you go through steps? Because I know it's kind of a hard thing to just test how high someone really is. I think it's more or less it should be, can you function at this level of?
Definitely,
Yeah.
I think what we learned while we were doing our research, there is a law in Colorado as far as driving under the influence of marijuana, but as far as that, it hasn't been statewide or anything. But I think testing whether you're under the influence of marijuana as you're driving, like they have checkpoints to see if you're under the influence of alcohol, I think it would be very difficult. I think there should also be more testing around there, but I think
So it's like a small area that they're kind of testing it on, whether
Definitely.
not like an actual
Yeah.
statewide.
And as of right now, it's kind of hard to just tell. Like, there's not really a measuring device yet.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of in the process of making kind of like a, not like a breathalyzer, but something that can like measure how how under the influence you are. So
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how they measure it, but they said that when we were looking at it, they said that there is some kind of restriction on driving under the influence, and I'm not sure that if it would be something like if they stop them and they can like not even function, really off and stuff like that. I'm not sure what the law is, but I think they said there was one kind. I'm sorry.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Do you know when you get pulled over while smoking weed, is it the same consequences as if you get pulled over while drinking or whatever?
well, I think since it's a different substance and it is actually legal in Colorado now, I think they have different I guess punishments compared to alcohol. Like with alcohol, you get like a DUI and you get like fined and everything. I think with marijuana right now, I think they're just doing fines. I don't think there's any like reprimandance is like on your record. I think they're just doing fines right now, from what I read. Anybody else?
In Colorado, now the unemployment's really high, but also with money, they're doing much more harmful. If it actually becomes legal in Missouri, what do you think is going to happen? Like the same with Colorado or something different?
I kind of think the same thing would happen, and it may not be as drastic, but I do think that there would be some kind of increase, especially because of the tax on it.
And as far as unemployment goes, even as like that, I don't even think that could be honestly related to marijuana, because when you think about it, people when they go to work, they don't go to work drunk, they don't go to work, stoned out of their mind. So I feel like it's the same kind of, back and forth as you kind of go, because you see, like as far as legalizing marijuana goes, you're not going to show up to work high as a kite because you're not trying to get fired from your job. So I feel like unemployment in Colorado is just kind of compared to unemployment in general.
I definitely think unemployment would definitely decrease due to the fact that jobs, say you work at a dispensary, I definitely think the jobs would definitely increase.
Well,
Brittany has something.
we're going to actually stop this conversation and give these people a great round of applause for our chairs.
Wow, taking a nap.
And we can pause the video for a moment. All right, well.
Yeah.